notes for my September 2024 reading of a 2022 autobiography of James Patterson. I'm filming this Tuesday, September 2024. Then started this book on Friday, September 2024. Finished it today. It was 360 pages. It took me 5 days. And it's an autobiography on writer James Patterson. And these are my book and reading notes for/from this reading. And so it's James Patterson by James Patterson. It's June 2022 Hachette Book Group edition hardcover. I'll put the ISBN in the video description. And this is a public library copy. And I'm going to say, this is the only James Patterson book I have read. And you know, I got to say, it's pretty cool to not have read of writers, any of the authors, any other books, because then I get to read it and I'm like, I get to learn about your other books from one book. So I gotta say, it was a brilliant approach. A pat on the back on my part. I have not ever met this guy, James Patterson. I do not know the guy, and based on the content of his book, I would reckon he does not even know my name. There's one universal truth for men like James Patterson. They live their lives exactly like in their biographies/autobiographies. Is he a death seeker? Someone who would rather die than wait? And that is relevant because he actually brings up in this book that he says he like always has 30 manuscripts in the works. And I'm like, man, I've talked about writing biographies and I've published on online encyclopedias and stuff like that in the past, in biographies of living people and stuff. So I was like reading that and I was like, my max was 3. so like, yeah, some people just are very not good at the whole waiting thing. So he's like, but it makes me a bestseller. And I'm like, yeah, I go after the story, you know, not after the how many books I can sell. Like by just choosing the biggest names kind of thing. So yeah. And that's a privilege he gets by being a bestseller, right? He can write his own autobiography and he's like, cha-ching, cha-ching. And he very much touts that throughout this book. So there we go. Book notes. That includes construction and design. So it's got a picture of, I'm guessing, the dude. I have not ever met the dude, so I'm guessing the dude. And the pages are they're a little bit wider on the spacing, not super small on the font. And there is a lot of blank space. So it's 360 pages, but if it was like formatted like some of the other books I've read, it might be like closer to like 250 pages. Kind of thing. And so there's a lot of like, you know, it'll be like a page and a half is a chapter, and there's like a bunch of white space and a bunch of white space or blank space or whatever one wants to call it. So so there's I would guess it's designed to be addictive, a page turning thing. However, this is also the style of writing that I was in academia for a while and science and stuff, and this is the kind of book that I think a lot of people would consider cheating. Because we're like super technical people, you know, and we like are really dry, you know, size 10 font, 0 spacing government documents. So, okay, I'm coming from very different reading and writing realm. I also do biography and autobiography. However, my base is science, not here. His space is mystery, fiction mystery. So, okay. Aside from that, there's just one thing he does that some of the other books I've covered, he does for the like theme of a section, maybe is a way of phrasing it. He does link it back to the theme title, which not all of the books I have done do well. He does make that clear. Okay. So I would consider that a book note. It's not as random as some of the books where I'm kind of like left being like, but how does that relate to the chapter name or section name or part name again? Yeah, there we go. I can hold it in my hand. It's not super big. And then the hardcover allows for, I don't have to worry about the bending of the pages. It was on the shelves when I went and was looking at the library, so it wasn't checked out. Reading notes. My honest number one takeaway is that RuPaul is a better writer. That came up when I was reading this. For whatever reason, I was just like, I feel like I want to be in the womb of the autobiography of RuPaul that I've previously covered on this channel. That was released earlier this year, 2024, in which he's done, I think, a number of books in nonfiction before that one. But yeah. How was it? Would I delay reading the Tiger Woods biography written by Mr. James Patterson based on what I read in this book? So it came across as a bit random, and I think that's kind of a catch in writing an autobiography or biography, is what to include. And there was, I would say, a lack of a coherent and well thought out storyline or plot. Which is, I think that's kind of the point with how he wrote it, is he's a really big deal and he's allowed to do that. However, as a reader this is the only book of his I've read, I'm like, I failed to be amazed by putting together a coherent story about the life. So he released 2 months ago, July 2024. I put it on hold the month it came out, but it took a while to get to me. So then this one, I was gonna read it next, and then I read this one, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna delay reading this. It's not even relevant to me. I'm a runner, right? I'm reading autobiography, 2007-2008 autobiography of somebody who's both a writer and a runner. And I'm like, that one's relevant. I'm a writer, autobiography/biography, and a runner. So, fact, I have decided to delay, and I'm already working on my other book, and I'm already 60 pages in. Now, he says he writes nonfiction. So, that better be the real life of Tiger Woods in that biography. Real name, real date of birth, stuff like that. Otherwise, it's not nonfiction. And then, would it not be eligible for certain things? I don't know. All right. Other marked things. Somebody left a marker in here at page 44. Yeah, I've got another book where somebody from the library system left something on page 44. This is the second one in less than the last 7 days. You know, that's... Okay. Let's see. Page 51. Oh, he talks about playing cops and robbers, and I was like, would the swimming equivalent of that for like the sport of swimming be playing sharks and minnows? Okay. Page 110. He talks about he gets ahead of himself in terms of thoughts, so his brain works faster than like his ability to write, and I'm like, I do not have that problem. So there we go. I was just like, so there are people I've met like that, but no, it's not a problem I have. Page 238 is kind of a segue of him his transition to nonfiction. He says that his first bestseller was ever nonfiction. So there was like one point and then like a later on transition. There have been some big deal, you know, breakthrough in autobiography and nonfiction, but autobiography/biography/nonfiction, big awards awarded before this book came out. So, and before even some of the books he mentioned. So maybe he's trying to win an award in the kind of by following suit of at least one person who's done that. So he's not the first, but you never know, right? He's got to diversify if he wants that whatever prize he's after. Let's see, page 251. Oh, he kind of emphasizes how much he uses outlines to write his books. He'll write like a 30 to 80 page outline and then write the book. I don't do that. I do templating, concept maps, and storyboards. I do a page in the life of, you guys, I debuted that this year on this channel, in this year, 2024. And I do artistry. So I do drawings and illustrations. I do photography. I do videography. So mine is a multimedia, multi-approach, but I don't actually do outlines. I did outlines in school when they were required, like a required step in the process. But for the most part, I don't actually do that. Page 276. It comes across as he actually had to look up the meaning of heart in the dictionary, which I'm just kind of like, okay. That's not how I was raised. And then I was also 276 to 77. Some of you have read this are like, oh no, here it goes. Yeah, I don't know if he's implying that he got a blowjob in Shun or from shun or what. I'm just kind of like, that's that dude's style, and he's decided to emphasize his relationship with shun and a restaurant, or a shun the restaurant. Okay, so yeah, so there was some stuff in there where I was just kind of like, all right, I think his a big blind spot. So the nonfiction transition thing. So he was talking about a military. So that's the page 238. That actually echoes a autobiography I read about a writer in Veteran, the Michael Ramos autobiography that was released this year, 2024. So I mentioned for my notes video on that one. So he's a creative writer, a professor in addition to being a veteran. Sniper was it? And I think in that one I mentioned that it kind of came across as his blind spot was people like me who've had family in the military. So like between my aunt and uncle, I only have one of each. 50% served in the military, United States American Marines, and then of my grandparents, 50% served in the military. Got a fighter pilot in the United States American Navy, and then a sniper in the United States American Army. And it came across that his blind spot, actually a bit like Michael Ramos, so James Patterson, it came across as the blind spot was also people like me. And I was like, so he's talking about with no military experience and no family, and so, but he was talking about like the person and stuff. And I was like, you guys forget that some of us were actually grew up in a culture where like 50% of our family have history in that, legacy in that. You guys are, you're like, if you're not in the military, I'm like, you lost all credibility or authority there, because some of us actually had to grow up in that culture. I grew up going to the Navy base. I grew up in that kind of, so huge blind spot on part of this author, though that's not like what he does. But what was the other blind spot was, oh, he brings up sales and how he'll see people who read his books, or like he'll see people put books back, or who, you know, like has all these stories about sales. Huge blind spot. This is a library book. He didn't bring up people like me, people who read books from the library. And I was just kind of like, 2 strikes, dude, 2 strikes. on credibility in the authority realm. So yeah, not that it really matters, but I was just like reading it and I was like, it's amazing, right? He was born in the 1940s and he still doesn't know about people like me, Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers, yeah, who read books from the library system. And he goes on about how he's the best-selling author in the world, and I'm going, well, that doesn't come with insight, clearly. So there we go. In conclusion, it marked full book, or it doesn't come with insight about his audience. Okay. So not everything's handed on a silver platter, although maybe he watches this video, but he doesn't know me. He doesn't talk to me, so there we go. Conclusion. It marked full book number 43 for me for the 2024 year. I might give it 1 out of 5 stars. Yeah, there we go. Those are my notes for my September 2024 reading of a 2022 autobiography of James Patterson.